Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols.
Are you glad that you have children? Or do you sometimes wish that you and Eileen had gone child-free?
Well,
I mean, maybe that's a loaded question. I don't know.
So, I think there's some interesting ways to look at that. So I'm glad that we had kids.
Okay.
We also had kids when we were very young.
Okay.
And so, now we're enjoying lots of time in kind of middle age where we don't have any kids at home. So, we hit empty nesting rather early.
Okay.
Compared to maybe most of our friends. So I'm glad that we had kids. I'm just glad that we had them early. I can see people thinking, like, if I was 30 and just having kids, I don't know if I'd be as excited.
Okay.
So, having kids when you're 19, 20, yeah, great, right? So I had lots of time to figure out life, and by the time they moved out, I was, ready to enjoy. We had time to enjoy ourselves. Some people do that in the 20s.
Yeah.
And then they have kids later. But I just think I like this time that my wife and I have now together. So I'm glad that we have kids, and I love them as adult children now. Right. And I miss some of the younger years, but I'm glad that we did it the way we did it.
Okay. Oh, the reason why I ask is that I've been a parent in two different ways. Having Eric, I was 34 when Eric was born. And if he was still around, he would be 20, he'd turn 22 this year. Yeah, he turned 22.
Which is pretty good given that you're 45, right?
Yeah, it's quite impressive. And so I enjoyed being a dad. Sure. I think being a parent is one of the most rewarding careers a person can have.
I agree.
Now it's a lot different than being a teacher. It's a lot different than being a counselor.
It brings a different purpose to life, right? Like that's what it brings.
But it also, like anything that brings you joy, there is frustration.
Loads of it.
Yes. And it doesn't matter whether they're little or they're old. It brings a level, all kinds of frustration. And I will say that whether as Eric's dad or as the bonus dad of two adult children.
Sure.
In fact, when Sherry and I first met, her kids were 16 and 13.
Okay.
And so, now they're a lot older. They're in their mid to late 20s. And even now, there's still sometimes the things that they say or do or things they don't do. You can get to frustration. But I ran across an interesting article. I ran across an interesting magazine called Big Life Journal. They're on the internet.
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
And they've got all kinds of cool stuff. And I ran across this really neat article of theirs, and it was titled "How to Deal with Frustration as a Parent." Okay. And I thought, that would fit perfect for our podcast because one of the biggest things that relationships deal with is parenting issues.
Yeah.
And so I thought that it would be kind of fun to go through this and how to deal with some of the frustrations that we as parents get to enjoy.
Sure.
Because like I said, you said it, and I totally agree with you. Being a parent is a lot of fun. You get to see them explore, learn things that you know to be true.
Absolutely.
Sometimes they explore things you'd never considered. Watch them grow, watch them develop. It is having those aha moments. It's just a whole lot of joy.
Right.
But with that joy comes growing pains that can be frustrating.
Sure.
So in this article, and again, I'm just going to dive through it. But one of the things they talked about is accept your kid as who they are.
Mm.
Don't make that child be somebody or something they are not.
Yeah. I mean, I think that if we think about ourselves, right? So we have our own relationships with people. And have you ever been frustrated when somebody thinks that you should be something different than what you are?
Oh, amen. Yes.
Right. So, I mean, kids are going to think the same way. Now, they need to grow up and kind of work into their own way. And we need to give them opportunities to explore different things, right? To figure out who they are. But when we take one thing that maybe we like, or a way of that, that we like to do, and we kind of force that on them, that I think is that what you're talking about?
I think so. And I mean, okay, I've had kids. I had a girl come through my class. She was a very talented softball player. And she, excuse me, she wound up going to play softball at an SEC school. Don't quote. Sure. I don't remember exactly which one.
Well, we probably don't know there.
Well, anyway, she went, but we were talking, and she goes, I hate softball. And I go, okay, then why are you playing softball? I mean,
Sure.
you're very good at it. You're extremely talented. You've got a full ride scholarship to a D1 SEC powerhouse for softball.
Mm-hmm.
And why don't you like it?
Right.
And she goes, well, I play softball because my mom was a softball player and she wanted me to be a softball player.
Sure.
And I've heard numerous times through the different, kids I've talked with that their they do things because, well, mom and dad are living vicariously through them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're doing that, if we as a parent are trying to make our child or a child of ours to be a certain way or act a certain way or do a certain thing, well, are we letting them be themselves? And are we then creating all kinds of conflict because we expect our child to be a certain way and we're not accepting them as who they are?
Yeah, I mean, I think it sets up a lot of frustration, anxiety, all kinds of things that push into that individual, right? So recently I read a book by David Brooks called The Second Mountain. And it's a great book. It talks about two different mountains, but what you're talking about here is kind of like the first mountain, where you're looking at a person who is trying to please external, expectations. And that's typically what we do, right? We try to achieve the salary or the career or the thing that other people are expecting us to do. Mm-hmm. And eventually that you round the top of that mountain and you go down the other side. Mm-hmm. And so, accepting that your child the way they are might help them to, make that mountain a little bit smaller. So that they can achieve and get to the next mountain, right? Right. The more expectation we put on them to be a certain way or do a certain thing or whatever, the bigger that mountain might get. And consequently, the deeper the valley on the other side. And so, that's just that's a great book. But it definitely connects with what I've been seeing, in some of the reading I'm doing.
Well, I think the one thing that made it easy for me to be successful in whatever I tried is my mom and dad always said, we love you no matter what. We love you. You say it frequently. You say it often. And you mean it. Don't just say the words as a platitude. And I think if you can say those words frequently and often to your children, we love you. I love you. Then that gives them the strength and courage to stretch their wings to figure out who they are. And, if you want them to be an actor and instead they become a musician, okay, that's fine.
Sure.
Because they have a talent. And it takes, I think, a long time. I know for me, it took a long time to figure out what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be. I mean, I went to college with one plan in mind, and I graduated with a different degree.
Sure.
And then it took me almost 10 years to decide that I really wanted to be a teacher. And once I got there, I'm going, this is my dream.
Yeah.
And even as a counselor, I still feel like I am teaching.
And that's
even in this podcast, what are we doing?
right. And that's a big part. That book I was talking about. That's what he describes is that, you know, it takes you time to get to that. And so that second mountain is when you figure out, oh, this is what I really want. And it typically has a different focus. It's not necessarily based on money, right? Like I know teaching's not an extremely lucrative field, but I gather from our conversations that the your current choice isn't any more lucrative.
No,
and maybe
not at
even
the bottom.
Maybe even at sometimes less. So it's, you know, as you start out. And so that has more to do with your passion than it has to do with achieving that external expectation of career and money. And so, you know, those are things that, you know, people work out in their lives. I know that for me, I mean, I did a whole bunch of things and I wound up at teaching and now I'm looking at administration, right? So it's just a little bit different. So I don't know if I'll ever figure out who I want to be.
Well, and that's okay. And I think that's, as a parent, I think our responsibility is encourage our children to be them.
Yeah.
And I mean, and our kids are going to do this. They're going to do dumb stuff, just like you and I did dumb stuff.
Yeah. Mine wasn't recorded.
No, neither were mine.
All of theirs is.
Yes. Thank God. But in this article, they included when our kids do stupid stuff, we're going to get angry. And it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be disappointed. But it's not okay to express that at a high level of emotion. And they provided an acronym. They basically say STOP. And STOP stands for stop what you're doing.
Yeah.
Take a few deep breaths. Observe your thoughts and feelings as they are, and then proceed with whatever it is you are doing.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that because I will tell you that I have a lot better response to things. And I know we're talking retroactive, you know, looking backwards.
Sure.
But because when I do something, when I just do a knee-jerk reaction, many times it's not the right kind of reaction. And so what they're saying here is to, you know, practice stop.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's okay, react, but think about what you're going to do before you actually do it.
Right.
And so I like that kind of concept. Again, it's S stands for stop what you're doing. T stands for take a few breaths. O stands for observe your thoughts and feelings as they are. And P, proceed with whatever it is you were doing.
Yeah. And I think that some of this has to do with age too, right? Like if you're talking about a 2-year-old, you know, I'm going to stop and I'm going to get myself together and then I'm going to proceed. But if I'm talking about an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old, I might be a little bit more reserved and maybe even never share the thing that, you know, because adults have to figure things out on their own. I can tell you that in my time of parenting, you know, I've had some years where I didn't sleep well. And I didn't necessarily share what I was thinking or feeling. I just didn't sleep well. It was difficult. I certainly didn't share everything I was thinking or feeling because kids, you know, as they approach adulthood or they're in adult, they've got to make their own decisions. And sometimes that you watch that and it's like watching an accident happen. Right?
Yeah.
But if you constantly, you know, tell them that they, you know, if you're always there to jump in and take their hand away from the stove, they're probably never going to figure out that it's hot. And so at some point they're going to burn themselves, maybe badly. And so, you have to allow some things to take place and then be there to pick up the pieces too.
Well, and that's kind of
that's part of how are you going to proceed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that, one of the things they talk about, they come up with this thing called the 90-second rule.
Right.
And in this, and it came from a lady by the name of Jill Bolt Taylor. And she studies the brain. In fact, she's called a neuroanatomist.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what that is, but they're talking about the idea that a lot of times negative emotions appear to stick longer in our brain than pleasant ones.
Okay.
Happiness and joy seem to be fleeting, where anger, hostility, frustration, disappointment seem to stick around a little more. Mm-hmm. And in this, they're talking about the 30-second rule or the 90-second rule, which basically allows us to feel that but not get stuck there. So when we resist a feeling, a lot of times we can stay with that feeling. Mm-hmm. And so, but if we accept that feeling, then we're empowered, you're allowing your body and your brain to process that emotion, and then it'll fly right through.
Right.
So that's why they're saying that a lot of times those negative emotions can stick around a lot longer because we aren't processing them. So when you're feeling them, feel that anger, feel that frustration, feel that disappointment.
Absolutely.
You don't need to necessarily respond like you were saying, I mean, again, if you're a
you may
two-year-old,
not even need to share it at all.
Thank you.
Right.
And that's,
you may need to share it with somebody, but share it with a partner, share it with a counselor, share it with somebody that you can talk it through with, but not directing it at the person or at the child is probably not the best thing all the time.
Exactly. And I mean, if you could potentially say, well, okay, you know what? I'm just not real happy right now, but give me just give me a moment. I know that my mom and dad, and I really, looking back with the benefit of time, I don't know where they learned to do this, but I think I profited a lot from this. Whenever we would screw up and do something bad,
yeah,
most of the time they would send us to our room, and their response was, "You're going to go to your room and you're going to think about it." Mm-hmm. And if we went in and we were playing with toys, well, nope. Then we get, no, your job was not to come in here and play. Your job is come in here and you sit and you need to think and reflect on what you did.
Right.
So start all over. I better not come back here and see you playing with toys. And so the process would begin. Well, I learned now that, or I've come to recognize now, that was more for them than it was for me.
Sure.
Because it allowed them to, in this case, that 90-second rule, to feel the emotion, to process the emotion, but not overreact the wrong way.
But you're also giving the child at that point the ability to learn about reflecting.
Yes.
Right. And to reflect on that. And oftentimes, whether it's sincere or insincere, probably doesn't matter, but the child's going to figure out, oh, I need to apologize for what I did, and probably not do that again. Mm-hmm. Right. So, they're going to learn that from the experience, because they're also, it's an unpleasant experience to sit in your room and not play with your toys. And so but it's not harsh, right, in any way. And so there's that learning of reflection. And I think that's so important, because that reflection allows you to think about what you did and change your ways in the future. Mm-hmm. And so that makes it easier on the parent, because when the kid comes back and says, I'm really sorry, I know that was wrong, now you don't have to be harsh.
And that's kind of what this article is saying, is that by doing this, even if you were to close your eyes, breathe deeply for, again, 90 seconds, mm-hmm. then open your eyes and you communicate to the kid that, you know what, I'm feeling a little bit frustrated right now. Mm-hmm. So give me a little bit,
right,
and we're going to talk about this. What you're also doing is modeling good behavior. Yeah. You're modeling that kind of response. You're teaching your children actually how to, good body reaction, good. I don't know.
It's a de-escalation technique,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's let's back off. If we kept at each other, this thing would escalate into yelling match with no productivity out of it. And so you de-escalate to get to a point where, okay, now we can move forward again.
And it is, yes, absolutely. Because you're modeling behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And your kids are learning from you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's teach them good things rather than not so good things.
Sure.
All right. So here's the next thing. And they're talking about when we are parenting, we should parent from a place of gratitude. One, the benefits of our mental and physical health are readily visible. It increases our ability to sleep better, which then allows us to have more patience and more empathy. All right. But here's some things that they say are suggesting. All right. Replacing the words I have to with the words I get to in relationship to our children.
Sure.
So, for example, I have, I'm going to use their examples. These are not mine. I have to take my daughter to ballet versus I get to take my daughter to ballet.
Right.
I have to put him to bed versus I get to put him to bed. Changing I have to get to a lot of times can generate a different response in our brain in how we accept what could be considered a chore. All right. I mean, I will be right honest. There are a lot of things I wish I could have gotten to do with Eric.
Yeah.
And I look back and I go, I enjoy, but I wish we could have done more.
Yeah.
So again, the idea of I have to versus I get to, I mean, face it. Why is the kid in ballet?
Right.
Did you introduce that child to ballet? Are you pushing that child to ballet?
I mean, I'm thinking, so we have a lot of, we get to like have game nights now with our adult children. That's fun.
Yeah.
And it's more fun because, you can have a drink and you can, everybody has drinks.
Yeah.
It's it's funny. But we have a grandson. And so a couple of weeks ago, when my daughter switched school districts to the one that I'm in, and she had to go to a few extra days because, when you're new in a school district, you have like extra days that they have you go to. So she had to do a couple extra days and she needed somebody to watch our grandchild. And of course, that's an I get to, right? We get to. And so we do things like, we can take him to a museum or take him to the zoo. We get to go do some fun stuff with him. And so we look forward to those things when we get to do them. But the same thing is true of children. As adult children, we get to spend time with them. We get to go shopping with them. I usually love it when my eldest daughter calls me and is like, I don't have my son tonight, so like, can we go for a walk? Of course, I get to. That's an awesome thing, right? Getting to spend time with your kids is amazing, and they want to spend time with you. And if they ever get to the point where they don't want to, and you haven't had the get to concept in your in your mind up to that point, like you're definitely going to notice it.
Well,
you're definitely going to notice that, I really want to do that, but they don't want to hang out with me. And so, getting to is a really positive way to look at it. And again, I think so many of our episodes, we get to changing our language.
Yeah.
Changing the language either of how we think or what we say. And I think that's really important to go from a negative to a positive.
By doing so, you're also being able to pull the likable aspects of your child.
Yeah.
And when you recall these times later in life, you recall the positives. And again, it's a perspective change that leads you to a more you have more gratitude towards, who your kids really are. So here's the last thing that they suggest. And this one I really like because, having seen so much in the classroom, I would love to see more of this. But apply a growth mindset to your parenting. And what they're basically saying is don't solve their problems for them. Let them, I mean, here's the thing. We as kids do not come with an owner's manual.
Right.
I don't know how many times I've heard people ask for one, but they just don't come with them, which is why parenting can be so frustrating. But the kids got to learn to make mistakes. And by, you got to let them fail, because we learn so much more from our failures than from our successes. And sometimes our successes, we might learn the wrong lessons. So rather than, again, whatever it might be, whether it's an academic pursuit, an athletic pursuit, let the kid figure it out on their own.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a time to step in. Okay, when you go and the coach is just berating your child up one side and down the other.
Right.
Might want to talk to the coach. Say, hey, coach, what's your meaning for doing that? And absolutely do not confront the coach right there, in front of the kid, in front of the other players. Same way with your teacher. I wish the number of times, and I get better responses when parents do this. Send me an email and say, hey, I had a question about something that's going on with my kid and a particular assignment or a thing that happened in class.
Right.
I would like to hear, can you share with me? Because now, okay, I would rather that approach than, well, my child said, or you did, as though that child would always tell the truth and would never exaggerate or fib or tell something that wasn't 100% accurate. And it's kind of like, well, first of all, everybody lies. And so the idea that a child would be honest and forthright about something that led to a negative consequence for them may not be the most accurate way. So I don't know. Again,
and I think that this gets back to the original item that we were looking at at the beginning, right? Accepting your child as they are, right? So if you're fostering that growth mindset, right, then you're allowing them to grow into who they are.
Yes.
Not who you want them to be.
Yes.
And so, I know that in education, and I'm sure in psychology, growth mindset is a very common term that we deal with.
Oh yeah.
Frequently. And so we understand it a little better, but so what is the difference, right? So the opposite of a growth mindset would be a fixed mindset, right?
Yes. I'm going to fix.
Right. So just some examples, right? So a growth mindset thing would be, failure is an opportunity to grow, which is something that we deal with in education.
Yes.
Often, because kids fail, and it's like, that's fine, right? Because that proves that you're learning something. Mm-hmm. You failed, and now you can figure out the right answer or the right process or the right whatever it might be, and you learn from that. Whereas a fixed mindset says that failure is the limit of my abilities. I'm done.
Yes.
Right. And so you don't want to have that. You don't want to have, let's push them into this area, and then they don't do well at it, and so they just think that they can't do well at anything.
Well, here's the thing too. When a kid makes a mistake, or something, something happens where, they did something and this was the outcome they got, which is not what they wanted. It's a great opportunity to simply say, okay, well, what can you do different next time?
Yeah.
I mean, because a mistake is not a failure. It's just a sign of growth.
Or it just might be that it's time to try a new thing. Right?
Yes.
And a growth mindset says, I like to try new things. Whereas a fixed mindset would say, I just stick to what I know.
Well, and you're also, with that, you're empowering them to figure it out. Right. And with that, you can listen and you can empathize. I hear you. I totally, that, okay, that doesn't sound correct. What would be a good way for you to respond? What would be a good way to have a different outcome?
Right.
I mean, again, give choices. Provide what might help you next time when this comes up.
Yeah.
And you're helping them with emotional regulation, which I think I see it within some of my nieces and nephews. that they struggle with emotional regulation. They're playing a video game and they lose and they get angry, and next thing you know, they're yelling and screaming and they're pouty, and it's kind of like, wait a minute,
Right?
You're playing a game, you know.
Exactly.
So
It's just a game.
Thank you. These are the ways that we as parents can help our children. I mean, because again, it is tough. It is easy for us to want to wrap our children in bubble wrap and protect them from all the horrible things that life has to offer. But in the same process, are we stifling and limiting our child?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
I agree.
it is tough to be a parent,
is.
whether they're little or adult or beyond. I love kids. I love working with kids. That's why, I enjoy doing our podcast, helping people, helping families. And so anyway, again, ways to help deal with our frustration as a parent. Hopefully these are tricks that will be beneficial.
I hope so.
So
Awesome.
well, until next time, I'm Rod.
I'm Scott.
See ya.
Bye-bye.